Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a wonderful episode of Sporting Perspective. It is week three of the college football season. Can't believe we're already in week three. The year is just moving too fast. Um, but I'm going to toss it over to you. I know you have some recaps and things that you want to talk about from week two. Overall, I thought it was a little bit of a weak slate, but then we still had some upsets in there. A lot of blowouts, but there was a lot for you to still talk about.
Yeah, I mean, for having a weak slate overall, it was still kind of a wild week. So, I mean, we had upsets, we had walk-offs, we had cowbells, and honestly, I never want to hear those again. So, yeah, let's get into it. The first note I had was Arch rebounded in a big way through 4 touchdowns. So, honestly, I think he's going to be just fine. So, everyone relax. I think the kid's okay. Um, let's all remember he did have to go into the horseshoe and at Ohio State. That's a tough place to play. And Sean, interrupt me anytime you want if you want to add anything to these.
Will do.
Next one, Clemson versus Troy. Clemson scared the life out of their fans against Troy, honestly. Um, that offense took the first half off. Um, they finally woke up in the second half, luckily, and the defense pitched a shutout. So, crisis averted for Clemson for now. Tempers might be. Let's lower some expectations on Clemson. I want to see them actually, dominate an opponent or actually show some, to show that you're a good football team. The first upset we had, or that I will be talking about, we had Mississippi State upset ASU at home, which is cool and all. But like I said earlier, I'm begging you, please never let me listen to those cowbells again. That was absolute torture, and it was just such a... I'm sure you saw it on the broadcast, but it was loud. And there's differences between, like, crowds yelling or noises that you hear from the Jumbotron, but oh my god, those cowbells. It was like the World Cup, maybe 2 World Cups ago when it was in South Africa, or 3 World Cups ago, 2010.
Yep.
Actually, no, I mean, that's more than 3. That's 2010, I guess that tells you when it was. When all the cicadas and all the... Not the cicadas, it was those vuvuzelas that sounded like...
Yep.
That sounded like cicadas. It was awful. We had USF take down Florida on a walk-off field goal by Nico Grammatica. And yes, that Grammatica family. Shout out to Martin and... I'm blanking on the ASU one.
It's been so many years now.
Yeah. But anyways, it's that kicking family, the Grammatica family. And honestly, speaking of Florida, I mean, again, hell of a game for USF. Congrats to them. But can someone tell me how long Billy Napier is going to be at Florida and why he still has a job? And honestly, what's his buyout at this point? Because he can't be a favorite of many Florida fans. We saw FSU absolutely annihilate East Texas A&M, so I think Florida State might actually be back. They dropped 77 points on East Texas A&M, so sorry to them. At least they got some money by traveling there to play. But yeah, I mean, look, I don't care who you are. Scoring 77 is insane. The game of the week, according to College Game Day, Oklahoma-Michigan. Oklahoma pretty much handled Michigan the whole game. I watched some of that. I was going back and forth between that and probably
ASU.
An ASU game. And it wasn't like that exciting, but Oklahoma handled Michigan pretty easily. And let me just say this, I will say, John Mateer is a dude. He fits that Oklahoma program very well. Kind of reminds me of Baker Mayfield, and I know the press has kind of dubbed him, or even maybe other... I think it was his teammates have called him like a Baker Mayfield light. So, yeah, that guy can play. So Oklahoma should be pretty stoked that they have a quarterback like him. We had Iowa State and Iowa, which was big noon kickoff, right? First thing in the morning. Yeah, so in one of the most legendary names for a rivalry that we got, El Assico, well, it sure lived up to that. Iowa State won with a late field goal over Iowa. It was ugly, it was chaotic, it was perfect for Iowa football. Iowa, the state football. We had Baylor upsetting SMU in what I can only describe as a Big 12 special, just zero defense. Obviously, SMU's on the Big 12, but I think you're catching my drift. For those of you worried about Alabama, don't be. I think, like I had said earlier, FSU's back, and I think Bama's going to be just fine. I'm not going to say they're top 5 team in the country, but I think they're going to be just fine. Let's relax and see what happens over the next couple weeks. We had the border war, Missouri versus Kansas. This was their first matchup since 2011, which is crazy with how that rivalry is. Missouri rallied late to beat Kansas, but honestly, this one always delivers. I thought it was a super fun game. Obviously, Ashley, my wife, is a huge Kansas fan, so we had that on the TV. But it's a lot of old school hate, and it was good football. Army K-State. I didn't think I'd be talking about this in my notes, but I had to throw it in there because Army stunned Kansas State with a late field goal. And honestly, K-State has some soul searching to do because, yikes, they were supposed to be the, talk of college football. They have a returning quarterback who's a stud, or should be a stud. And they have to go down to Tucson to play my Arizona Wildcats. And at one point, they weren't favored. Last I checked, I think they were favored by 1.5. But, I mean, it's basically a coin flip game. And as an Arizona fan, I'm not going to beat around the bush. We're not that great of a team, but I could see us beating Kansas State, to be completely honest, if they're going to continue playing like this. And last but not least, UCLA and Nico. Yeah, UCLA is, really bad. Really, really bad. And in my humble opinion, I think Nico made a terrible and very bad business decision going there. I hate to say it, but facts are facts. And Nico, you probably should have just stuck at Tennessee. So yeah, that was week 2. So between cowbells, walk-offs, and El Assico, this is why college football is great.
Yeah, the nice thing is there's so many different games every single week. There's a bunch of storylines that come out of it every single week. Even with only one top 25 matchup last week, a lot of really good games. A lot of good rivalries were played in the second week. And, that's what makes college football great is every Saturday there's tons of things to watch and bet on. And you just never know what's going to happen with the upsets that do happen. That said,
one last thing I will say, we had a spitting incident in the Miami. Who did Miami play? FIU, I want to say. But we had a spitting incident. So, just like in the NFL, he decided to just copy Jalen, or whatever his name is. Not
Jalen Carter.
Carter.
Yeah, the dumbest thing. I don't know. I know we'll talk about it tomorrow, but this is the dumbest thing. I don't get that. So stupid.
Good job, Jalen Carter. You're teaching college kids to replicate you in your spitting.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's put second week behind us. Let's move to the third week. We got a few top 25 matchups. SEC play starts and some good rivalries that we're going to talk about as well. Here's our top 5 games. We'll start with a rivalry game, or at least I consider it a rivalry game. It's been dominated by one team over the recent years, but the games seem to always be good. Number 12, Clemson going to Georgia Tech. You kind of mentioned it earlier. Clemson kind of off to a slow start this season. Georgia Tech had that win against Colorado in week 1. Can Georgia Tech pull off the upset at home?
I'm taking Georgia Tech, whether it's a smart pick on my end or not. I'm taking them. They're the home team. They're going to be fired up. They obviously have seen what Clemson's been doing. Clemson hasn't shown me anything for why they should win this game, honestly. Yeah, they have the names, and one of them being Cade Klubnik, but he hasn't been Heisman level like many thought he would be. So I'm taking Georgia Tech to upset this Clemson team, and I'm a believer in Haynes King, the quarterback at Georgia Tech.
I'm not terribly confident with my pick here. I'm taking Clemson. I think that second half against Troy was a little bit more of what Clemson is. They just might be off to a slow start. And don't get me wrong, playing LSU in the first game, that's not easy. They may have had a little bit of hangover from that a little bit. I'm going to take Clemson. I think it's going to be close, though. And I will not be surprised if Georgia Tech pulls off the upset, but I'll take Clemson. Great SEC battle here.
Simulation.
Oh, simulation, yep.
Simulation had Clemson winning 33-19.
Okay, cool. Jumping over to SEC play, probably, in my opinion, I think this is game of the week. Number 6, Georgia, heading to Knoxville to take on number 15, Tennessee.
I'll be honest, I haven't watched a whole ton of SEC football yet. I haven't really tuned into Georgia. I really haven't tuned into Tennessee quite yet. I'm just going based off of rankings, honestly, with this one. I'm taking Georgia to win this game. No real reason, but I just think Georgia can do it. I think they have the pedigree. They always have the guys. And I had mentioned UCLA as the last little note. Maybe if they brought back Nico, maybe they'd have a little bit better of an offense. I know they've looked good to start, but they haven't really played anyone. But yeah, I'm going to take Georgia on the road.
I'm going to take Tennessee in this one just because Knoxville is a very difficult place to play. I forgot who it was early in the season last year, but Georgia struggled on the road. I think they lost to Kentucky early last year on the road, but they kind of they struggled in September early last year. I think these similar situations this year. Tennessee's look good. I get it. It's been against not very good opponents, but I'm going to take Tennessee. Knoxville's a tough place to play, and I think they knock off the Bulldogs here. What's the simulation got?
Simulation had Georgia winning 34-24.
Okay. Going to a Florida battle here now. Number 18, South Florida, who you can argue has the best 2 wins, start to the season here, that is beating Boise State and Florida in back-to-back games. Potentially the best resume so far. Going into Miami to take on the Hurricanes. Who do you got?
I'm taking Miami. I don't think, what's the saying? Lightning doesn't strike twice in the same place. Well, South Florida's got, I don't want to say lucky. They're not lucky. I think they're a good team. But like you said, they have had 2 really good wins. This would be an unreal start. I mean, if they beat Miami, they're 18 right now in the country. And if they beat Miami, I wouldn't be surprised if they jumped up to top 10 potentially. But I just don't see it. I think Miami is actually a really good football team. And they're the home team, so they're going to have the crowd behind them. If you saw the video, they have more than just fans in the stands. They have lemurs. Did you see that video? There was a girl at the Miami game this past weekend with her pet lemur on a leash and a diaper. So, we got all types of humans and creatures cheering on Miami Hurricane football. So, yeah, I'm taking Miami.
Miami's an interesting place. We'll leave it at that. My goodness. I'm going to back kind of a lot of what you just said. I'm going to take Miami too. But if South Florida finds a way to win this game, they're going to shoot into the top 10. And you actually got to start considering them being a playoff contender / this is a very good football team. But we'll see what happens. I'll take Miami. Maybe South Florida will shock us once again, and they could be this year's darling. The team that South Florida beat, we're now going to talk about. Florida heading to LSU. Tough battle. How do you feel about this one? LSU is ranked number 3. Florida fell out of the rankings completely.
Yeah, Florida does not look good. DJ Lagway, I'm starting to be a little concerned of. I think he's a good player, but I think the coaching is what the issue is with this Florida team. I don't think Billy Napier is a good coach. I don't know if he's not getting these guys fired up or just not providing any type of oomph at halftime or what. I don't know what's going on with this Florida team. But if I was a Florida alum, I would want him out immediately because this isn't like something new. This was people were running his head last year. So, yeah, for Florida to be playing this way and then also to travel um, to Death Valley, I don't think there's any chance they have at beating this LSU team is really, really good.
Yeah, I'm not going to add much to this one. I got LSU as well. Not going to add on. Did you give the simulation for the South Florida Miami game?
I didn't. Simulation, so I'll do back to back. So simulation for South Florida Miami, Miami winning 27-20.
Okay.
Simulation for LSU Florida. There's a tight one. LSU 29, Florida 28.
Okay, that's close. Matchup from last year. This was actually the beginning of last year. Texas A&M heading to Notre Dame. They played last year in College Station. This year being played in South Bend. 16 versus 8. Who do you got here?
Yeah, this should be a good game. I'm excited for this one. I think Notre Dame returns the favor from what A&M did to them at Kyle Field. Notre Dame Stadium is also a tough place to play. Their crowd's going to be raucous. I'm taking Notre Dame. I think if Notre Dame wants to win this game, though, I'm still not fully on board with C.J. Carr. I think Jeremiah Love needs to have just a really good game. Because the defense will be fired up, and Notre Dame has a really good defense. So they need to get that ground and pound going, and I think Notre Dame wins this at home.
Yeah, very much the same thing that I was going to say. Notre Dame, and I think they use Love a lot in this one. Just hit the ground running. He's one of the best running backs in the country. Use him as much as you possibly can. I believe it's going to be good. I think it's going to be a good game. But I think Notre Dame edges it out. South Bend, the crowd makes its presence known, and they win a close one, probably by within a score. I was going to say 3, but I'll just say within a score.
Well, if you're going with that's a good bet. Simulation had Notre Dame 34, Texas A&M 27.
Cool. Right on it. All right, well, before we wrap up this episode, last week we talked about our favorite tailgating foods. Now we're going to switch it up to the drinks, and we're going to talk about favorite things to drink while watching a football game. We've had we throughout the years, we have done a lot of tailgating, a lot of our wonderful binge drinking before games, at games, at home, while watching games. So we're going to give you our top 5 drinks. James, do you want to just go back and forth, or do you want to give your top 5 completely?
Yeah, let's go back and forth. And this is alcohol and non-alcohol. It doesn't have to.
Yeah, it could be everything. Yeah,
whatever. So my number 5, I'm starting off with mimosas and Bloody Marys, just because I guess you can technically have a mimosa or Bloody Mary whenever you want, but obviously typically you have them in the mornings. Not all football games are in the mornings. Sometimes you don't always want to drink in the morning, maybe because of the night before, or maybe you need a hair of the dog. But yeah, I'm going with mimosas and Bloody Marys just because sometimes those 9 or 10 a.m. kickoffs, you just want to have a little something, and nothing better than a brunch drink.
I have a feeling this is the only time we're actually going to agree on this list, because the rest of my list gets really weird after this. I got mimosas at 5, a lot of the same reasoning. But we agree on 5, so let's move to 4.
All right, so my number 4 is a little off the wall. My number 4 is shots. And the reason I put it at number 4 is because it's not something you always want to do, but, win or lose, you booze. Obviously, sometimes they can be victory shots. Sometimes they could be, we just got the ass beat out of us. It's time to take a shot. So, can't say I do that much anymore, but I've been known to throw back a couple whiskey shots if my team's not doing too well. So I'm doing my number 4 shots.
Well, for me at my number 4, some days you just need a soda. You don't need an alcoholic beverage. So I'm just putting my favorite soda on there. Sometimes it's on a warm day and you just need an ice cold Dr. Pepper. And there's never a bad time to have a Dr. Pepper, in my opinion. So my soda of choice goes at number 4 right there.
So my number 3 is Dr. Pepper, just because it's my favorite soda, and basically exactly what you said. Sometimes you don't, if you're not in an alcoholic mood, that sounds bad. Alcoholic mood. You're not in a mood for alcohol.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes you just want something sweet and something tasty, and Dr. Pepper and its 27 flavors always quench the thirst.
So this one kind of my three kind of is close to Dr Pepper, but is a little bit more fancy, and I'm saying it's a drink, but I'm throwing in the icy. There's something about an icy at a football game, especially when it's 100 degrees. It just feels good. It cools you down. Um, but getting like a Coke icy or a cherry icy in 100 degrees, always a win.
I didn't think of that. I do like an icy from time. I haven't had an icy in years, man.
Yeah,
I might have to go get one this weekend. I'm watching football. Run over to Circle K.
yeah.
My number 2 is anything whiskey related, which
Yep.
more so nowadays I would say is either just whiskey on the rocks. A lot of the times that's what honestly that was very close to being my number 1. Uh, when Arizona kicks off at 8 p.m. at night, or I'm watching the Sunday Night Football game. I know this is the college episode, but we're kind of talking football in general. But when I'm watching Sunday Night Football, sometimes like a mixed drink sounds good, so I'll make an old fashioned. So I would say whiskey on the rocks or an old fashioned is kind of my go to and my number 2.
Okay. My number 2 is a Corona. One of my favorite beers the last 15 years. Very light, good here down in the Southwest. Always been a big fan of the lime Corona. Not much else to say there. Love me a Corona.
All right, number 1 for me is just a Coors Light. Whether you're tailgating and having a Coors Light, whether you're at a bar, you can have a Coors Light. You're with your friends, you have a lot of Coors Lights. Or sometimes when I'm just home and watching games, I'll have a Coors Light. And the added touch after having moved now and lived in South Dakota, a big thing around these parts is you put green olives in your Coors Light, which
Oh,
are
weird.
so weird, but it's actually pretty good. So, okay, think of it this way. Sometimes, people who like salt their beers,
Yeah, yeah,
olives are just super salty, so I kind of look at it like that. And then you finish your beer and you have a little treat at the end.
yeah. Interesting. All right. I put my top one as a Blue Moon. I feel like I get more Blue Moons while watching football than any other drink, so that's why I put it at 1. I must like it. I also kind of put an honorable mention here. I feel like it's important because I could have put this actually anywhere between 1 and 5. I just didn't put it on my list. But water. Water is important too. Got to stay hydrated.
Water is
I do find myself, always drinking water. So I felt like me at least mentioning it somewhere as an honorable mention. Water probably is somewhere in there. We'll just put it at the honorable mention for me.
Orange
So
slice in the Blue Moon, yay or nay?
yeah, I like that. I like that. Yeah, I like that especially when I'm like at a bar or at a game. Though at home, I don't do it.
Just out of the bottle.
Yeah, no, I like it when it's pre-done for me. So, well, anything you want to add before we wrap up this episode?
I got nothing. Bear down,
Cool.
as per usual. Go U of A. Time to go 3-0 against K State.
All right. Well, it's going to be a great week of college football, and we'll have the week 2 NFL episode up tomorrow. So, guys, pay attention to that as we break down everything from week 1 and our predictions from week 2. Football's in full swing. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.